Hi, you guys, it's Ash, and today I'm going to be talking about grief. Okay, I'm going to be talking about grief, but more so what not to say to someone who is grieving. I think that I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time. I think it's a very layered conversation, but we can just start here, okay? Grief is very difficult. It's very difficult for the person who is experiencing it because they lost someone. It's also difficult for people who are loved ones of the person who is grieving. Like if you're a friend of somebody who is grieving, or if you are a relative of somebody that you love that is grieving, it can be difficult for you too, because it can be very awkward, right? So you're stuck in this scenario where you want to comfort somebody. The situation that they're going through is not very it's not very relatable for you. It's also something that because you can't relate to it, you really don't know what to say, right? So I'm here to help you avoid saying things that can be very invalidating, downright ridiculous, and just not helpful altogether, okay? So I just want to kind of start off by saying as well that, people who are grieving really do appreciate the fact that you even care enough to say anything at all. And this video isn't to attack people who want to offer comfort in some way, we just don't know what to say. It's more just kind of like as a starting point, guidelines to kind of help you kind of navigate it. I got my sun chips here. I'm just going to be, they're here in case I want to have a little snack, but I've been wanting to talk about this. I don't know. These might be on pause. Okay. So I have my notes written right here. And let's see. So one of the things that I think this is more like a personal one for me, right? Is how are you? When someone loses someone very close to them, how they're doing seemed to me to be very obvious. Like when I lost someone, it was just like people ask me, how are you? And I'd be like, I'm okay. And I would say that because for me to tell you exactly how I'm really doing would mess up your whole week, baby. Like I promise you, like for you to take in like the words that would come out of my mouth if I actually told you how I was feeling, it would just be incredibly depressing. And nobody wants to be a Debbie Downer. Someone who's grieving has no interest in just like, in trying to tell you just like, oh, I feel horrible. I didn't feel like getting out of bed today. I haven't taken a bath in 3 days. I haven't brushed my teeth. My hair is matted, I'm crying myself to sleep if I am even sleeping. You know what I mean? It's a lot. So in order to avoid being a Debbie Downer, the how are you question is fine, but it's more so the after you ask how are you and the person's like I'm okay, and then the person doubles down and they're just like, oh, but I mean, how are you? With like the lean in and just kind of like, the whole, I know you're saying you're okay, but really, how are you? You know what I mean? It's just like if the person who's grieving actually wants to talk about how they are, I promise you they're going to tell you. They're going to let you know. Or you're going to witness it and you're going to see them crying or breaking down to you and opening up and pouring their heart out to you. Like, don't worry, you don't have to pull it out of them. I promise you, you don't have to. Okay? A lot of times, like instead of that, you can say, hey, I'm just thinking about you. Or you can just say like, I love you. And we know what that means. You know what I mean? Like we know what that means. I promise. Another thing that is a little off-putting is Off-putting, among other things, is they're in a better place. The reason why I added this to the list is because of the fact that, one, when someone said this to me, when multiple people said this to me, in my mind, I'm just like, no, because the better place is here with me. Like, no matter what your belief system is, I've known extremely religious people who have lost loved ones who are very close to them. And when people have said it to them, whether they believed in a beautiful afterlife and eternity based on their religion, no one thinks that when their loved one passes away, especially if it's tragically and unexpectedly, or if the person is very young or something of that nature, no one thinks like, oh, they're in a better place. Like, they're not with me anymore. No, they want them there. They want them there to be able to love on them, to be able to hug them, to be able to kiss them, squeeze them, smell them, experience them, just all of those things. Like, so telling somebody, you know, at least they're in a better place, highly not recommended, 1-star response, okay? So something that you can say in place of that is, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss. My condolences. You know, I love you. I couldn't imagine what you're going through. You know what I mean? Just anything other than that. Another one is, if you've lost someone who is older, like, you know, someone of a certain age, like some people like to say, a lot of people like to say, you know, at least they lived a long life. This response seems like it makes sense, right? Because you're just like, well, you should find comfort and solace in the fact that this person at least got to live a long life. They didn't pass away prematurely or anything of that nature. They got to see a lot. They got to do a lot. They got to just live a full life, and they're blessed, right? That's the sentiment behind it, and I get it. But let me explain to you how somebody might interpret that. Someone might interpret that as you invalidating their loss and their grief, because it's like, yeah, but I still miss them. What? Like, yeah, they lived a long life, but it was a long life, and it makes it worse because I spent even more time with them. You know what I mean? Like, when someone's grandparent passes away or something like that, they don't want to hear, well, at least they lived a long life. It's just like, yeah, but no, that's not how I'm experiencing this at all. That doesn't help. It doesn't offer comfort. No, please. No. I think something that's a little bit more validating that you could say alternatively to that would be, I know this must be incredibly hard for you. I can't imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry that you lost someone so close to you. My heart really goes out to you. You know, something along those lines. It's a little more validating. And you're probably going to hear that word over and over again, because a lot of people can tend to, while they mean well, can invalidate people's feelings, like when it comes to grief. So I'm just, you know, the goal of this is to just kind of like to help. Let's see, what's another one I put down? Whew. Everything happens for a reason is another one. When you tell somebody that everything happens for a reason, it almost sounds like someone might misinterpret what you're saying as, you know, it, like karma may be related to it, or because this person passed away, now this can happen, or meaning that something good can come out of it, or, you know, it's just, it's very unnecessarily philosophical. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, it adds like this touch of magic to it. That's not magical. It's poop. It adds, and the way that we experience that is just poop, hot poop. Okay. That's it. You know, everything happens for a reason. Okay. But that does nothing. That does nothing for the moment with the grief right now. You know, the absolute depression, the severe missing the person and agony. And no, it does nothing. I promise you. So please refrain. Okay. Another one is, you're so strong. Now put this one down because a lot of times outwardly, people who are grieving can come across as very strong. People may say you're so strong to someone who they haven't seen break down crying. They may say this to someone who they haven't seen go on and on and on about their grief. Like maybe the person is like going on about their day. Maybe they've gone back to work. Maybe they've continued on with their schooling. Maybe they're out running errands. Maybe you see the person out for drinks. Maybe you see the person laughing and joking on the phone with their friends, right? So the perception from the outside looking in is that, wow, this person must be so strong to not be completely breaking down. But you would be surprised the level of numbness that can come from severe loss. Like there's a space where people sometimes just want to busy themselves, even though, yes, they take the time to experience it in a healthy way sometimes, because grief is very different for each person. And however somebody grieves, you know, just know that it's okay. Whatever method that you want to use to do it, some people are in denial. It kind of delays the pain a little bit. And people just do whatever works for them to pacify it. But anyway, point being, people can appear very strong, but they're actually breaking down and extremely weak and shattered on the outside. Just because you can't see that person missing sleep and not sleeping for days, just because you don't see the person just like, oh, I'm so sad, and because you can see them outwardly carrying on, you just have no idea. You know what I mean? And I think that depression can rear its ugly head at any time, and which is why, like, sometimes when you see certain people take drastic actions based on their depression, you know what I mean? A lot of people around them are shocked and they're just like, oh my God, I never saw it coming, right? Like people who are outwardly laughing a lot and just like very, you know, like the life of the party and things like that. Like people interpret that as like, oh, they're strong, you know, they're funny, they're great, they're this, that. But you would be surprised. People are really good at faking it. And sometimes when people aren't faking it, they're just like keeping the ball moving so that they don't go crazy. That's what's going on. Because, you know, grief can make you feel like you're losing your mind. Absolutely. Let's see. An alternative to that would be something that's more supportive is, it's okay to feel however you feel right now. And that just feels like just so good because it lets the person know that you don't have to be strong. Like when somebody tells you, this is like closely related to what not to say. When someone tells you, you know, keep your head up and you just had like a tragic loss, it's just like, no, I'm not going to keep my head up. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry and I'm going to break down and I'm going to have the lowest moments of the low. And my head isn't going to be up. And I don't need you to tell me to keep my head up because that's not what this is right now. This is tragic. And all things that come with grief, you know, can be very debilitating. And so allow people that you love and that you want to comfort to have that space to do that. And for you to say that is very affirming to that person. So on to the next one. Let me know if you need anything. Yes, this is something that I heard a lot and I heard other people hear. I've like when this is said, I can definitely see how it's coming from a good place along with a lot of these other ones. But what ends up happening is that it puts the pressure on the grieving person to reach out to you to ask for something, when in reality, that's like one of the last things that's on their mind, right? They're still trying to come to terms with the fact that this person isn't even here anymore. You know what I mean? Like the last thing that they're thinking about is, oh, let me reach out to this person to do this because you're just so broken and so absolutely shattered that sometimes it's difficult to call on people and you don't want to bug them. And it kind of pings the ball into their court, just like, okay, hey, if you need anything, hit me up. But then it's just like, it just leaves like this one moment of thought, just like, are they going to contact me? You know what I mean? But then you just are so consumed with the grief and everything else associated with that, 9 times out of 10, they probably won't hit you up, period. You know what I mean? And unless it's like dire. And sometimes some people do call on people, like they have like a close circle, but I'm talking about whether you're in the close circle, whether you're not, it's much better to say, and I think it'll be much more well received to say instead, what can I do for you? Or invites a grieving person over to your house, say, hey, I cooked, I have this meal for you, would you like to come over Tuesday and I prepared a feast and everything, or prepare a meal, have it delivered to their house, tell them that it's waiting for them outside, send an Uber Eats. A lot of people who are grieving, like, not that they forget to eat, but they lose their appetite. Send them funny things on Instagram, send them the funniest memes, ask them if you can come over and just sit with them. And when you come over, you don't have to ask them, questions about it. Like, even if you decide to call them, I guess this might be number 6 or whatever, I don't know, but it's still related to the last one. But if you call someone and you want to act like you want to talk to them like regularly, you know what I mean? Instead of hitting them up and just being like, so how's your day going as far as like the loss of your cousin? So how's your day going as far as like your grieving and everything? How have you been? Like, I understand that you're showing that you care and you want to maybe offer resources or something like that. But I think that it may be better to, when you call them, just say, what are you up to, right? Ask them, what'd you do today? Have regular conversation. You know what I'm saying? Talk about what you did today, but you're checking in on them and you're asking them about their day without saying, like, because sometimes the person who's grieving can be like in a groove where they're kind of like not so depressed in that moment and they're kind of like busying themselves with something else. So then you come with the questions of like, how are you handling the grieving? And it's just like, oh, fuck. And then you just go right back into it. And then you're just like, and a lot of times when people do that, like you see somebody's phone that you love or that you really like, their name pops up on your phone. And then you answer and you're just like, hey, what's up, Crystal? And then Crystal's just like, yeah, I'm just checking on you. How are you handling the grief? It's like, we don't need a reminder. I promise you, we think about it all the time. We are thinking about it non-stop. If we want to talk to you about something, if we're having a moment, if there's something that needs to be discussed within that grief realm, we will absolutely bring it up without a shadow of a doubt. Promise you. So, I just wanted to just say these things as kind of like a reminder, a friendly reminder. Like I said, it's much appreciated the fact that you're even saying anything to a grieving person. So please, your support is absolutely welcome. But there's a way to do everything, and sometimes we just have to be a little bit more refined in our approach. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see. What other notes did I take? Let's see. I think this might be it. I think also, it's about like apologizing. I had a couple people read articles and stuff like that on what to say to grieving people, and they've come back and just been like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that it had this effect on you. And, of course, when you're in the moment, the grieving person might not be like, oh, God, I don't want to talk about it. Like, they may not like check you on it, but it's just like, emotional intelligence helps everybody. It helps the grieving person. It helps you. This is just something that can, I think, help make you more emotionally intelligent if you decide to embrace it. You know, there's a lot of resources and everything that you guys can like look up if you like as far as grief. You know, there's counseling options and everything like that. If you want to talk to a counselor as someone who's a loved one of somebody who's grieving, or if you are grieving, like counseling is an option. Sometimes it helps people, sometimes it doesn't. But long story short, I don't want to ramble on too much, but I did want to get this video out there for you guys. And if you have experienced anything like this, or something something else comes to mind that you want to share that someone has said to you that's kind of awkward, let me know. I would love to see it down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a like. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'm out, you guys. See you next time. Bye.